So far, we've got a pretty great useAutoSave hook. It does exactly what we want. If we type, it'll say that it's saving. If we keep typing, every 1,000 milliseconds, it'll go ahead and update with the latest data that we have. Everything works really well, but this definitely could be a lot more. For example, we may want to let the user know when their data is being saved, when it's being autosaved. What if there's an error? We want to probably let them know that. Right now, there's really no communication from the useAutoSave hook to any component that calls it. So let's change that. For now, I'm just going to return something. I'm just going to return test just so we can see what happens because we want to return some value. So back in M&M, I'm going to go ahead, I've got the use state. I'm actually going to pull out save state and I'm going to pass it into a header 2 and show you what it looks like. So that worked very well. We wanted it to say test, but we actually really want that obviously to be tied up to whatever's going on. So we're going to need to change this from a boolean value to an enumerated value. What that means is that we want, let's just start it. We want a save state and a set save state, and we want this to be a state that has, one of only a few different values. And so those can be, let's see, can be one of, we'll have a save, that means that it's pretty much up to date. We'll have a waiting to save, so that means that there is data that needs to be saved but is not yet saved. And we'll have a saving state, and that means that it's in the process of trying to save that. And we'll start by saying saved. We use state, we should spell that correctly. So we'll start by saying, hey, this is saved. That means it's automatically up to date. So in here, instead of true, we can say set state to waiting to save. That means, hey, it changed, we need to be waiting to change. And in here, we got rid of we need to get rid of has data changed. But instead, we can actually keep that name and say has data changed equals waiting to save. So if it's waiting to save, that's the only time that we should actually go ahead and update this. So we'll save that. Actually, I did that wrong. Sorry, equals save state. So there we go. Has data changed? So once that is waiting to save, we need to go ahead and get this started. We don't need to console log anymore because we actually have, sorry about that. We actually have it being shown here, or rather we will. So we can go ahead and return the save state. That'll let them know, okay, cool, saved. And then we're not going to set has data change. We're actually going to set this to be saved again. So where does this saving come into place? Well, that really should be when we've started this. Now, this isn't going to be very interesting because we are using local storage, and so it actually has a synchronous, action. It will update immediately, so we're not even going to see the values in between here. So to make this a little bit more interesting, let's make a mock version of this. So we're going to, down here, create a function called delayed save, pass in the storage ID and the data, so it'll have the same API. We'll return a new promise with a resolve and a reject. And that callback, we'll need another timeout here. So let's do set timeout, and let's do 1,000 milliseconds just to show us, give us enough delay. And once it's done, we'll do local storage dot set item storage ID data. And then once it's done, we want to resolve. So we can use that, and since it has the same API, we should just be able to get rid of this. And now, since this is a promise, we can actually call .then, and once it's done, we're just going to set it to saved. So once the timeout starts, we'll say, hey, this is saving, and once it's done, we'll say, hey, this is saved. So let's save that, restart this, and we'll start typing stuff, and it's waiting to save, which is great. But if you notice, it went really fast from saving back to waiting to save, and that's actually a problem. That's what we really want to do, saving, save, that's great, but if we just keep typing way too much, it's going to keep setting these up, and that's actually not what we want to happen. We only want this timeout to be going if it's waiting to save, and we only want it to be waiting to save if the data has already been saved and the data has been updated. So we actually need to pass in here save state. If it equals saved, so only if it's in the save state do we actually want to go ahead and update this. So we'll do save state. So just to clarify, we're saying if the save state is saved, that means if it's actually up to date and the data itself has changed, in that case, we're going to do waiting to save. And let's throw this out here because that's not very helpful. We actually always want that to be updating. I think that would be a problem otherwise, but let's save this. Let's refresh this and make sure that's working. So if I type Brooks, waiting to save, saving, save, that's perfect. But let's see if I keep typing, it says waiting to save, saving, waiting to save, saving, save, and you'll see it went really fast from the save to waiting to save because at that point it knows, all right, you've been saved and you're not equal, so I need to go ahead and update you. So this just shows you how using enums instead of booleans really makes this a lot more useful for the component or other hook or whatever is consuming it to be able to take this state and actually use it. And so this is actually a really simple version of a finite state machine, and that's what our next video is going to be all about.